Welcome back to the Still Loading Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the decline of everything, but mostly video games. My name is Aiden,
And I'm Matt.
and today we're going to keep the kind of the feel goods going. Last episode we talked about games we really enjoyed that people did not enjoy at all or really fucking hated. So we're going to kind of keep that going with this is a very personal list. This is our top 5 favorite games.
Oh, yes.
These are those games that like I'd recommend to anybody, and like if you want to hear about them, like we'll talk for like 30 minutes to an hour about them.
For sure.
Gonna try and keep it low on this podcast though, or it'd be forever. But yeah. As per usual though, I have a couple things I want to talk about, and actually I have a really big announcement too, so that should be fun. Two things I'm actually excited for. And this is again another contradictory statement because I had such hate for remakes in the remake episode.
Yes.
Two remakes I'm actually excited for is Crisis Core was announced,
Yes.
which I think is great. It's accessibility. Like I said, that's the positive version of a remake, accessibility. That game was only on PSP. I can play it on a PlayStation now, and I'm really happy about that.
Honestly, it should have been PlayStation to start with. I do understand like the PlayStation Portable niche and all that.
Yeah, it was definitely a niche time. Like
Yeah, but I mean, super great. We all get to play it again. How cool is that?
yeah, and another game is Dark Alliance 2, Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2. The first one came out like a year ago as a remake or a remaster, and now the second one's coming out too. So I'm really excited about that because that game's like $100 to buy on PS2 still. So
Yeah. Dark Alliance 2 is the one where if you beat it, you could play as Drizzt and Artemis and Trey, right?
Yep,
Yeah, dude, that's
yeah.
so cool.
yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that was getting a port. That's cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
news to me too.
I'm really excited about that. Like I said, this is really positive stuff because this is accessibility. Everyone has $100 to drop on a PS2 game.
Yeah.
Some people don't even have their PS2 still, so mine is out the door. Like it still works, but like the laser needs to be cleaned mega hard or replaced in general because like it takes like a few minutes for a game to load in that console now, and I'm like just kind of pet it the whole time. Like you can do it. I believe in you.
Do you have like the big block PS2?
Yeah.
Nice.
The OG one, yeah.
Yeah, nice. I have the reissue they did at the end with the Slims.
I had a Slim as well, but one of my siblings broke it, so I had to go back to Old Faithful and I dig it out of a box and be like, well, welcome back.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've had mine for a long time. It hasn't really failed me, other than the place where the disc clicks down. One of the little fingers. Yeah, it doesn't like to work all the time. So again, you have to coerce it.
You
Like,
can do it.
I just want to play Budokai Tenkaichi 3, please. Just do
Yeah,
your job.
right. So those are some things I'm actually happy about. Again, 2022 to like 2023, like I'm optimistic for the things I'm personally interested in. Basically, if you showed me a whole lineup of games coming out in the next like year to 2 years, I'd be like, some of those might be good. But the things I'm personally interested, I have faith in. So I'm kind of renewed vigor at the moment.
The only thing I'm looking forward to next year, well, now besides those two things, it's not even fully confirmed. It's been pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. They say it'll be ready next year, but it's a game I've been waiting on for a long time. That's Bloodlines 2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you, man. I really want that game to come out, and I hope. I think if they wanted to be smart as a company, they have to know the fans are restless right now. So if they were smart, they would do a remaster of the first Bloodlines and sell that for like $20-$30. People would buy that shit absolutely.
Oh yeah, today, right now.
And the thing is, like, that would sate their fans for a little bit longer to be like, okay, we have a little bit more time to finish this game now.
Totally, and you could bring new people into the fold that might be excited for the second
Exactly,
game.
yeah. It'd just be a really smart business move. So I'm not sure what company makes that game, but there's a free business tip for you.
That's the thing. That was the issue with, because Bloodlines 2 was supposed to come out a few years after the first one, which we're talking like early 2000s.
Yeah.
The unfortunate thing is White Wolf folded. They're not a company anymore, so I don't know who owns that property.
It's probably whoever made that Werewolf the Apocalypse game that wasn't very good.
They made all of them all around the same time too.
Well, there's a game that came out like the last year or the year before that called Werewolf the Apocalypse, and like it
Really?
wasn't very fun. No, it was not very fun.
Really?
Yeah, and I was really disappointed because like I'm a big fan of World of Darkness. Like I like that setting a lot, but that game was atrocious.
Really?
It was just. It was a game that pretended to be a stealth section, but then it was basically impossible to do it correctly because like if your little tiny like wolf nose was like behind like in front of a box, I'm like, oh, we see you. And
Really?
honestly though, there was no incentive not to just not stealth because as soon as you get caught by enemies, you turn into a big werewolf and tear everything apart.
Yeah.
And there was no incentive not to do that because there was no like different scenario if like you go through the whole thing stealthily, which I did many times, and it did not change anything. So
Really?
there's just no incentive to do it. Like it just wasn't a very good game. It had some okay ideas.
Mhm.
One thing I really enjoyed is that when you engage in dialogue with certain people, um, when you fail certain persuasive checks or whatever,
Mhm.
as well as like sometimes they say something, eventually you get like another option, which is just turn into a werewolf and fucking kill him.
Neat.
And like I think that's a great idea.
Mhm.
But that's pretty much the only one.
Okay. Um, I will say I ran a Werewolf the Apocalypse campaign
hmm
on the actual tabletop game, and it's a shitty video game mechanic, but that's pretty much how everything shakes out when you've got PCs.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why can't I just turn into a werewolf and kill this man? Like, you totally can. Just remember,
Yeah.
there's consequences to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
I don't know if it's a callback to that or what.
It might be.
That's really shitty. Like, as far as like the whole stealth mechanic you said, and like achieving things either way, like it didn't matter.
hmm
Yeah, that sucks. That's not a good video game. But they made a few of those. Like they made
Really.
they made VTM Bloodlines, which is arguably the fan favorite.
Yeah.
And then I've got one for original Xbox. It's it's Hunter the Reckoning. It's based on the vampire hunter side of things.
That sounds familiar. I might have played that. I'm not sure.
It's I got that game really late. I got the game a few years ago, and I went through to play it, and I was like, "Damn, is this dated?"
Did you ever play Ape Escape? Not the same thing, obviously, but
Ape Escape. No, I can't say that I have.
it's one of the first like actual PS1 games I played.
Really?
Yeah, and I saw that on the PlayStation Store. Like they came out with this. It's a pure port. Like it's not a remake or a remaster. It's just a pure port.
Cool.
I got that the other day, and like, man, that game is dated. I was like, I remember having so much fun with that game, but I was like, these controls are hard.
Yeah, man. Been getting back into emulating a little bit, and I tried to play Quest 64.
Oh, wow.
That game's tough, like mechanically tough, like, and not in a bad way. Like, it's a giant pain in the ass,
Mhm.
but I like it. Like, I gotta stop doing that because my phone is complaining about. I was playing Majora's Mask.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the 64 version on my phone, and I was trying to use the Deku Scrub bubble blow to knock Tingle out of the sky, and my phone was just like no, and just reset on me. It was like, no, we're not doing this. Like, this is way too much you're asking me of me, and I've got like a pretty decent phone too. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, on just on that same vein, like, yeah, just reiterating, like, I'm fully on board with remasters.
Mhm.
Port older games and remaster them for so more people can play them, or fans that just like really like those games, but it's hard to play them nowadays. That's fine, you know.
I have this. Make a mental note. This is gonna come back here in a few minutes.
Oh, okay. Other than remakes, though, so there's a couple announcements that I'm surprised at, and I have mixed feelings about. Some I'm very unhappy about.
Okay, like what?
Yeah, so I talked a little bit about this in the open world episode, and I think I've maybe mentioned a few. But Dragon's Dogma 2 was announced out of nowhere. Yeah, a game that's 10 or 15 years old, I think. I can't remember when that game came out. It was a long time ago, though. Yeah, all of a sudden, sequel was announced.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah, and so as someone who really enjoyed the first game, I'm excited. But then as someone who like sees what happens to modern gaming, I'm not excited.
Mm.
You know, is it going to be the same team for one thing? Do they understand what they did right the first time around? I'm fully expecting this game to be like a massive open world, and like they're ignoring everything that was good about the first game.
Mm.
They're going for pure size, pure spectacle. Like it's just tons of stuff to do. And that's not what made the first game good. The 1st game was good because it was genuinely a balanced open world experience. Everything was solid within that world.
And it was, dude, it was damn fun. Like,
Yeah,
I enjoyed that game.
it's great. I
I didn't
mean,
finish it, but I played it a lot.
yeah, wait till you finish it. Like, it's definitely one going back to. Like, it's really good. So yeah, I have mixed feelings about that. Um, as if calling me out, the people who are making Sonic Frontiers, they're like, the game is not open world, the game is open arena. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean?
And what's the difference?
Yeah, that's what everyone's kind of asking too. It was like, what does that even mean? Sonic's at its best when it's arena based, like just level arenas, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
it's what makes Sonic Adventure so fun, and games like that. So yeah, I mean, I'm still hesitant. I'm probably not gonna buy it when it comes out. I'll probably just wait and see. But yeah, I mean, that was something that was interesting. Speaking of open world games, though, I'm really excited about Final Fantasy 16. Not only because of who's heading that project, but just because they also announced like Final Fantasy 16 will not be open world.
Neat.
And I was like, "Fuck yeah, dude!"
Finally.
Like I literally rejoiced. I was like, "Thank God," you know. Like that's the one thing that could ruin how that game is shaping up, was if you decide to make it open world for some fucking reason.
Yeah, don't do that.
The project lead is the same person who does Final Fantasy 14, and that's a highly quality game. So
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. Yoshi P is amazing. Not only did he revive Final Fantasy 14 from the grave to make it the game it is now, but like he's got a lot of integrity. He's a very, very passionate man. I saw an interview where he compares making video games to how, like, you know, ancient blacksmiths like forged a katana. Is like they put their heart and soul into it. He's like, that's what video games should be. And I
Yeah,
was like,
dude.
fuck yeah, dude. Yeah, it should. So yeah, I mean, I have a lot of faith in that game. Um, Diablo 4 announced it was open world though,
Wow.
which, tell me if this sounds familiar as a fellow WoW player.
Okay.
Tell me if this sounds familiar. It's open world. There's a emphasis on rescuing settlements and
No.
you know, just exploring basically to rescue random followers and stuff like that. Open world PvP. A whole system based around that as well. Does that sound familiar to anyone?
Oh, Garrisons?
Garrisons and Battle for Azeroth.
God.
And how
no.
much you want to bet? I'm willing to bet money on this. Like, how much you want to bet there's going to be a side quest involved with those homesteads you rescue to buff them and make them better and bigger and like make your followers stronger and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, fuck it, Battle Pets, why not?
Yeah.
Jesus, man, really?
Yeah. I mean, it's WoW 2.0. That's what they're making. It's not a Diablo game. And I mean, I'm sorry, like I have a very like personal issue with open world games. Like I fully admit that. But Diablo has never been an open world game. It thrives on its story. It is a amazing narrative experience. I don't even like Diablo that much, and I'm like, it's a great story. Like I've played every single one because I'm like, I want to know what happens. This is a great story I want to hear.
Yeah.
It's worth it alone just for that, in my opinion. So I just don't know what the fuck they're doing, but
They need to take a massive leap backwards and go back into the adaptive labyrinth. That's what made Diablo like that. That's what got the hook in me, dude. Was Diablo 1. The fact that I played through that game all the way through with I think the warrior the first time, and then I went back and played it with the sorcerer, and I was like, whoa, these floors are not what I remember.
yeah,
Because it changed. It's supposed to change. Like,
yeah,
I remember on my first run, I didn't get to, because when you go to the cathedral the first time, on my first run, there was no dude outside. There was no dying guy. When I played through the second time, because of the way the labyrinth had spawned, he was there, which opened another boss in the third floor, which is like supposed to be the first boss of the game, but I never did that the first time. So I was like kind of underleveled going into the deeper floors because I didn't have that.
yeah.
That's what it needs to be again. Some more of that, or recommend me a game that's like that, because I That's why I like roguelikes so much. It's ever adapting, changing labyrinths. I like that.
Yeah, no, it's just it is a massive step backwards. You're right, and it's just I don't know, but you know what? That's not my problem. uh, Speaking of Diablo, though, so Diablo Immortal, that game came out.
Was that the mobile
Yes.
game? Okay. What do we think?
A few notes on that. Oh, I didn't play it, and I'm not going to play it. So not only is that game grindy as hell, and you get no reward for it, it's highly predatory. They have made it to where loot boxes is king in that game. You can spend 30, 40 hours in that game and get fucking nowhere. But then they tempt you at the end of every rift, like, hey, do you want better loot? Maybe spend $25. It's literally ingrained into the game to make you spend money on it. And not only that, somebody took that system, basically. They hacked the game, found that RNG number simulator in the files, and made a website with it purely to simulate how unlucky it is. And you can literally just click the button and it'll tell you how long it will take for you to get a 5-star. And it climbs up to $10, $15, $20, $30,000. Somebody spent $10,000 on the game and got like 1 5-star. That person's a streamer, so I'm pretty sure they can write it off as taxes. But that game is purely fucking predatory.
That typical Blizzard, man.
Yeah, well, that goes into my announcement with that move. Blizzard is joining Bethesda and Bungie on my blacklist. I am no longer buying a single Blizzard product.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and it's interesting. I talked in the last episode about, like, I was kind of jonesing. I was like, Dragonflight looks cool. I might have to, I gotta stay strong, but I might not be strong. Not a problem anymore.
Oh, yeah, no.
I feel great. To quote Moulin Rouge, thank you for curing me of my ridiculous obsession with WoW.
No, nice.
I'm done with Blizzard. That is such a fucking... And the thing about that as well that really settled that for me, like, not only is that just a fucking scumbag move, but people have asked, like, is Diablo 4 gonna have loot boxes? And no one will fucking say no. The same tweets have been, like, almost word for word, the same tweets have went out. I'm like, oh yeah, it'll be a full price game when it comes out, this, and this. But not a single fucking person will say no. And what does that tell you? There's going to be some kind of cash box element. There's going to be a cash shop at the very least.
That breaks my heart. I have a different and equally filthy needle in my arm, and that's StarCraft.
Mm-hmm.
And that team has been quiet for a long time. And they do this thing where they just come out and release something great. That really sucks because again, this is an important tool that we'll use later. StarCraft is going to be mentioned again.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I Diablo Immortal basically sold it for me. They made $24 million in the first 2 weeks of sales, and it was not because that game is really good and people were buying it.
No, it's because I need better shit to play your game.
Yeah.
That's... man, that's like... oh, God.
I've been sitting on this all week. Like, I've been wanting to talk about it, man. Like, this really fucking got to me. Like...
That's really irritating.
Mm-hmm.
That's like in the territory. That's mean.
I mean, that's Bethesda level of stuff. That's exactly what they did with Fallout 76, basically. Like, they overcharge their customers and try to rip them off and try to make them buy something they were promised for free in the beginning. It's the same level as that. And it's basically what Bungie does with their online shop as well. Like, you can't play Destiny anymore without them, like, every fucking 5 minutes. Just like, you want to use the cash shop? Maybe? Maybe? Yes, maybe. I see you're flying to another planet. You want to use the cash shop? Maybe? Like, it's on that level, and it's fucking ridiculous.
That's not nice.
It's like, not.
That's not nice at all, man.
No.
I'm not gonna lie, this is really... this is pissing me off, like, pretty good.
Yeah, no, I mean... I do want to talk about this later, and probably the next episode, actually. I kind of want to cover a lot of things like this. Let's get to the happy stuff though. Like maybe
Yeah,
maybe
no.
do some happy stuff. So our rules probably are not the same for our top five favorite list. So mine, for example, is I'm not excluding sequels. So like if a game was good because like it and its sequel were good, it's one game for me.
Yeah,
I'm gonna talk about that.
I have something on my list for that as well.
Perfect. Also, Chrono Trigger is not on my list. I'll just spoil that now.
Yeah, me either.
I know people love that game. Personally, I never got into it, but it was okay. I just don't think it's the greatest game ever made. Like that's just where it's at for me.
It's definitely good game. Good game category.
Yeah, it's good game category. It's something I would play once and probably not again, and that's exactly what I did. So
yeah, it
recently too. So if everyone's like, "Oh, as long as you played it, like you don't know what you're talking about." No, I played it like 5 years ago, so like it's pretty recent.
Yeah, no, it is just a good game, and that's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay. But this is like this is your S tier league.
Yeah, no, I just want to get that out of the way for piss people off early, I guess.
Yeah, sorry.
I think every time I've ever had this conversation with somebody, Chrono Trigger is brought up every single time, and it's just like, yeah, can't relate, but cool, man. You know?
Neat. It's a good game.
Yeah, exactly. I have a couple honorable mentions just because these are not, like, as you said, the S League, but I think about these games still. Like, I think about them ever so often where I'm just like, that was really good, actually. And, like, some of them I even, like, pop in and play for a little bit. And, like, this was really good. Like,
yeah,
I remember this. This was very solid. And, like, oh, it's still very solid. Nice. So my first one's an RPG called Legend of Legaia. You play that?
No.
Not only is the story super interesting, so this is like a PS1 game that was an RPG, it was turn-based, but to do your attacks, you inputted like certain directions.
Oh, really?
Like kind of like a fighting game. And then like if you did the right directions, you'd initiate your attack, and if you did it correctly, it'd do like a super move basically.
Oh, cool.
And it was like very flashy, very fun, and like there was some strategy involved because like you had like a bar basically that was like, this is how many inputs you can put in. And that all changed based on like what weapon you were using. Like if you, like for example, if you're using like a big weapon, your right command would be like twice as big because you're using a bigger weapon.
That's cool. Okay.
Yeah, and so each character had like a specific thing that they were good at. So like one of your characters, like her thing was like using like basically like claws. Like that was like her specialty was claws and tonfas basically. And so if you put that on her, like her commands would be smaller basically, so you could fit more stuff in her bar.
That's really cool.
It's very cool, yeah. And it's one of the first games I played as well where when you put equipment on, it shows on your character.
Yeah.
So like, and that's always a big one for me. Like, it's not a deal breaker for me. I get why games don't do it, but it is always a nice treat when it happens.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, that's just my first honorable mention.
My first honorable mention would be Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. I really enjoyed that game. Came to me at a really good time. Like dark fantasy was like the rage, and then this was like dark modern fantasy, and I was oh, cool. And it's before I was aware of the pen and paper game. Like it was just like this crazy new thing, and then through talking about it with like my circle of friends, they were like, dude, did you know there was a tabletop version of this, and it was actually came out first? And I was like, no, I didn't know that. And then a buddy of mine was like, here, read this. And it was the Book of Nod. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, this is really good lore. And, like, going back and playing that game a second time and, like, knowing the lore. And I was like, oh, that's what they're talking about. It was just a really, really great experience. Mechanically, it's not the best game. It's got some problems, for sure.
I mean, it's dated. That's all I would say, really. I think that for its time is phenomenal.
Yeah, like, it was, I don't know. It was just so much fun. Like, I really felt like it was one of the first games where I really got into my character. I was like, that's me, like I'm getting to play me, because like the dialogue options coming from playing like fantasy and stuff like that, like I can tell somebody to fuck off literally in this game. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's super awesome. Like so yeah, a very special game for me, and I think it's done really well. I think anybody could enjoy that game. Maybe not anybody because it's not in my top list. But I think most people would play that and be like, yeah, okay, I see. It's a good game.
I don't disagree. Like, I never beat it. It's one of the ones I never beat, but I played it. I thought I played a fair amount of it.
Yeah, from what you said, yeah, you got pretty deep in it.
Yeah, no, I liked it. I just wasn't much of a PC gamer then. I'm not a PC gamer now, so it's like that's really what it was. I wasn't even playing it on my computer. I was playing it on a friend's computer.
Yeah, that's how I started.
I did all of that in like a night, pretty much.
Yeah.
Because like I'd go over to people's houses and like I've always been like a late night person, so they'd pass out first and I'm like, guess I'm playing this video game all fucking night.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. I played Vampire Bloodlines or Masquerade Bloodlines all fucking night.
Yeah, it's a good game. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. It's not very long, but it's good.
Yeah, no. My second honorable mention is 3 games. Or no, sorry, it's 4 games, but they're all the same title. So it's the Breath of Fire series.
Oh, dude, nice, yeah.
All of those games, the one on PS2 is a little iffy. It was hard to get into just because of the limitations for using your powers and stuff. I never beat it because I couldn't get past certain parts because I'd die from like not the game but from like the timer in the window basically. Like you run out of time basically. Like it's kind of similar to a roguelike, I would say, because it is kind of short, but like there's just certain things you have to do. Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter is interesting, but I did not finish it. But Breath of Fire 1 through 4 I did finish, and those are super solid RPGs. They use a lot of the same art style and like character concepts, but each character is different, has a different personality. It's a very interesting kind of like JRPG thing to do, to be like each main character is like kind of the same, but like not the same. Yeah. But it's really cool, and like you get to turn into a dragon in that game, and it's always interesting being turned into a dragon, you know.
That's dope.
And it goes deeper as well. Like there's so many cool things. I think honestly of those 4, Breath of Fire 3 is my favorite. I remember I played that game for like 50 hours, and then I found out I was only halfway through it, like story wise, and I was like, holy shit.
Nice.
Like it was super good, man. Like the writing's solid. So yeah, Breath of Fire for sure. And for me too, like I think that's probably why, you know, to its credit, I probably don't like Chrono Trigger like everyone else does, because I had already played Breath of Fire 1, and that game came like a year before Chrono Trigger did, and I was like, this game's better. Like,
yeah, totally.
I don't know why people like this game so much. Like Breath of Fire is way better.
I never played that one personally, but I was around friends when they were playing it. I was like, oh man, that's cool.
yeah. It's super easy to get a hold of the game, so if you ever want to check it out, like it's super easy to get a hold of them, like emulation wise, not to get.
Totally,
but,
yeah.
I
like emulators.
Those are my second honorable mentions. Did you have more than one, or I wasn't sure? Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, it's talking about this has made me think of other games, and I was like, oh yeah, that's really great. Did you ever play the Star Ocean game for PS2?
Yeah.
Or Endless Time, I think it's called.
Till the End of Time.
Till the End of Time, yeah.
I played pretty much all of them, except for some of the newer ones, but yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that game. Like,
it was super cool, man.
Talking about games that you pour hours into, and you're like, Jesus Christ, like, I'm having a great time, but when do I get to the end of this game?
Did you get to the, not the end, but like close to the end, like the plot reveal, basically?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I want to say that I actually beat that one.
I never beat it. I always get to the exact same spot, and then I never go past it for whatever reason.
I remember like that game is one of the first times I experienced true gamer rage. Yeah, there's a level where you have to ride on the back of turtles.
Oh yeah.
And you have to direct them through. Like I was stuck there forever, and I was like, dude, I just want to do combat again. Like I'm tired of puzzle solving.
Yeah.
It was actually one of the first times I used game FAQs. I was like, how the fuck do you do this? Like I'm getting so pissed off.
Yeah, I remember doing that too, actually.
Yeah, that
and those guys
hard.
were fucking useless because they're just like, just control the turtle. What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, what do you mean? Yeah, I remember like what I was missing was like I had like the water levels changed like they were supposed to be. I think that was part of it, or like certain pathways weren't open.
You have to drop boulders or something like that.
That's right. Yeah. The thing was like most of the time when you could exit an area, there was like a marker, but the one place that there's not a marker in that game is when you have to go up and get to the other part of the map, and that's what I was missing. I was like, I've done every pathway through here, there's no way to progress. And then I went up and I was like, I read about that and I was like, no fucking way, it's that easy. And yeah, it turns out, yeah, that is 100% how you do that.
Yeah, I remember that. That's bringing up some memories. I think I did that not too long ago because I did get it on. I got the remasters on PS4, so I think I did that not too long ago, actually.
It's a good game, man.
It's very good, yeah. No, I 100% agree. It's a good one.
So that's my second honorable mention.
My third one is a game called Brave Fencer Musashi.
Oh, yes. PS2 title, yeah.
It's a PS1 game.
PS1
they do have a PS2 game of it. I don't know if it was a sequel or unofficial spin-off. I don't know, but I know what you're talking about because there is a PS2 one with the same title.
Yeah, I got it from my sister. That's the only reason I know.
Yeah, I played the one on PS1 though. I actually still own it, and it's worth a lot of money right now, so it's kind of cool.
Nice.
It's one of those games that like escalated in value. Um, it's it's hard to explain, man, because like for its time, the voice acting is actually really good. It's a PS1 game with like almost full voice acting. Like
Wow,
everyone
really?
has voice acting. Yeah, and a lot of the voice actors did a really good job. Some of it's kind of cringy, but
Of
they
course.
did a really good job. And it's kind of like a mixture of like Zelda and like a weird like action RPG at the same time. Like I mean honestly you can kind of like Final Fantasy and like Zelda
Really?
like kind of like yeah, and it's just it's actually impacted me to say because like one of my favorite like Japanese stories now is like Masashi Miyamoto, which that character is based off of, and like I love all that lore. Like that's one of my favorite things. But that game's super good. Like it's so fun, and the puzzle solving is so unique because there's things I remember even to this day that I was like, yeah, I remember when I finally figured that out. It's just no game's ever done that. Like there's this thing where you basically have like a giant sword in your back that's like the legendary sword, but then you also have a katana, and the katana can absorb enemies' abilities. And sometimes you need to do that to progress through the maps. And I was like, there's no fucking way. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, where do I go? Like, I'm stuck here. And I thought about it and I was like, well, that enemy is, jumping. Maybe I need to jump. So, like, I got that ability. I'm like, oh, I can jump across these thorny vines. Great.
Oh,
It's
neat.
just, it's super interesting. And basically, the giant sword that you get is this legendary weapon called Lumina. And you empower it with these runes and you gain abilities over the elements. So
That makes sense.
yeah, so like the puzzle becomes that as well, where it's like, well, how do I traverse like this area? Like, oh, I need to knock that boulder down, so I make an earthquake with my sword. Like, just all kinds of things like that.
Oh, neat.
It's super cool. Yeah, definitely worth a play.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah. Is that your third?
that's my third. Yes.
Third honorable mention. All right, yeah. So my third would be StarCraft,
Yeah.
the original. Hot take: I'm not a super big fan of the sequel. Like everybody loves it because the mechanics changes and stuff like that. But the original StarCraft has such an important place in gaming for me. Like that game was shown to my older sister by our older cousin, and she got really into it, and then she let me play it, and that birthed my love for RTS games, like economy control and patience and stuff like that. It was so different than anything I was playing at the time or anything that exists, because an RTS game is totally its own thing. Like either you love them or you hate them. I've never met somebody who's middle of the road. Either they like doing that or they don't. I like doing that. So
I'm on the other side. I don't like doing it. With very exceptions. Like I said, I did enjoy Goblin Commander in our last episode, but
yeah, that's a different.
not the same thing. But
Yeah,
yeah,
not it's got a lot more action elements. I like organizing strategy and things like that, and
yeah.
seeing what unit combinations work well with each other, and sending hordes and hordes of people to their death, I guess.
Yeah, do you like Civilizations and stuff like that?
I've never played that before. I don't really think that's my issue with that Shogun game I was talking about last time.
Oh yeah,
It's too complicated. There's way too much to manage in a single turn.
that's how Civilization feels to me.
Yeah, no, I like simple, build your base, build the appropriate buildings to make the appropriate units, go crush the other team. I like that a lot. It's simplistic, it's knacky, and no two games ever feel the same to me.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoy that kind of thing. So
I mean,
that's what I like.
back when Blizzard didn't suck. So
Yeah,
makes
StarCraft
sense.
2 is not a bad game.
yeah,
I just think that with the popularity of WoW being what it was at the time, they took everything that was gritty about StarCraft and they rounded it.
yeah,
Like, StarCraft 1 is very gory. Like, I remember distinctly being like 5 or 6 years old, and there's a cutscene where this space station gets blown up and you see an arm, like a severed arm floating through space holding a cigarette.
no
Like,
shit.
yeah, it used to be very, very, like, gritty.
That's cool.
And it's not that way anymore. Everything's rounded and neat, and yes, there's still blood and guts and all that shit, but it's not like, it doesn't feel the same. Like, it's like what they've done with modern muscle cars. Like, I think the best kind of muscle car, like, the edges should be so sharp on the body that you should be able to cut yourself on it.
Oh shit.
And nowadays, they all look like you took an air compressor into the body and just puffed it out. That's what it feels like. StarCraft 2 feels very round and not hard-edged. So that's why it doesn't get a place on my list. It is a good game, but I think StarCraft 1 is superior.
I think that's fair. Yeah. My next one is was a unique title back in the day because it was one of the times when two different corporations kind of ganged up together, basically. And so this game was made by a collaboration of Square Enix and Capcom. And this game's called Parasite Eve.
Parasite Eve, yeah, I know this game.
That game's amazing. The first one specifically, though.
The sequel wasn't as great.
The sequel wasn't as great, as well as it was more Resident Evil than like what Parasite Eve was, which is a mixture of like survival horror and like RPG mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
2 was decidedly a Resident Evil game.
Yes.
Which took me out of it. You know, I hate tank controls for one thing, but like it also, it just wasn't as good. And then Square Enix did make that third birthday game on PSP, which I thought was very interesting, but there's a lot of like continuity issues because I found out later too, like they had lost their rights to a lot of like that original material, so they had to like kind of like workshop some stuff, and like that's why the game was so weird. Same basic concept. Parasite Eve is actually a game, right? I think it should get a remake.
Yeah, totally.
Not only was it super good for its time, it was super interesting, very very cool, and the combat that they use in that game is like an action ATB gauge, and like that's the exact same thing that Final Fantasy VII Remake does. It's nice. The exact same combat system, but obviously more polished. So I think it would fit in naturally with that to just remake Parasite Eve and then have the same combat system. You can still have an open arena the way it is in the game, still have the RPG mechanics, just obviously, you know, higher scale and like prettier and stuff like that. I don't think you need to make it to the scale of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Just like make it like a PS2 title instead of like a old PS1 one, you know?
Yeah. So you said the action gauge thing, like meaning that there's like a set period of time that passes.
Yeah, so you have to run around the arena dodging attacks while your attack gauge fills up, and then that's when you can be like, oh, I want to use the shotgun, or I want to use like my special psychic ability or whatever. That's what it does in Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like it's difference being, I believe you can do auto attacks in Final Fantasy VII. I haven't played it for a while, but you can do like auto attacks while you wait for your ATB gauge to charge, as well as like it charges from attacks. Like I said, same basic concept, but like it's obviously different in the 7 remake, but it's the same combat system, so like it would work. You could definitely do it. I think it'd be cool.
100%. Yeah, that sounds really rad.
Yeah, that's one of the few games I would advocate. Like, yeah, we can make that game for sure. I think about the first one a lot, especially just the first cutscene is so interesting. It's so unique. It's creepy and like kind of like elegant at the same time, and like I still think about it. Like it's a very good game. I'd even recommend people play it now. Like if you have a copy somewhere or you can get it digitally, like play that game. It's super cool.
Yeah, I was really young watching that game get played, because that's not one I've played personally, but I remember my sister's first husband is going to come up a lot in this. Remember, I believe he was playing that at the time. Yeah, and I was like, man, that's cool. Like, a lot of my video game experience from childhood is me getting to look at things and, you know, man, that's cool.
Yeah.
I can't play it, but that's cool.
But yeah, that's number 4 for me.
Nice. I don't have any more honorable mentions.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I have one more then.
Okay.
So if you like early Resident Evil, when it was kind of like that survival horror feel pretty heavily, and like when you run down the hallway and like the camera angle's fixed, and that makes it like 10 times worse for some reason. And you also like Samurais and Demons, this is the game for you. This game's called Onimusha, and that's basically what it is. Like it literally is combining those two elements of like you have a little bit of Devil May Cry influence, a lot of Resident Evil influence, kind of a little bit of kind of, you know, it's like 3D Castlevania kind of influence. Like it's kind of a combination of all those things. But it's a survival horror game where you play as a samurai and you kill demons, and like you can turn into a demon because beginning of the game, there's a clan of Oni specifically that don't hate humans, and so they're like, hey, like the Demon King's gonna come back, like we don't like that, so like we choose you, be our hero, basically.
Oh, neat.
And so it lets you absorb Oni souls and like power up your weapons, and like you get all kinds of different weapons. You get like a lightning sword, like a wind glaive, like a flame, whatever. Like,
oh, neat.
It's super cool, and that series took a weird turn. That's why specifically the first one is like an honorable mention for me. I think they're all okay past that. they just took really weird turns. The third one, I believe it is, was interesting because it was like a weird timey-wimey thing.
Oh, cool.
And I can't remember his name, but they got like a really well-known actor to be like they actually used like mocap and stuff for that game. That's the same with the first game too. Like they had the actual actor be the Samanosuke is the name of the character.
Oh, neat.
But yeah, it's just whole series is okay as a whole, but the first one's very, very good.
Very good. Okay, cool.
Yeah, not like S tier, but like A plus tier.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what my honorable mentions I'd say are like A plus tier. You know, like they're not S tier,
Yeah.
but they're A plus. You know.
Yeah, I'd agree with all those.
So I guess with honorable mentions, though, moving into our list.
Yes.
Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. So my number 5 on my list is a game that I'm actually currently replaying. It's Grandia 2. This game is very special to me because, again, I saw my sister's first husband when they were still dating in high school. It's the first time I'd ever seen a Dreamcast before. He brought it over to our house. And fun story, so my mom used to work at a convenience store, and she worked late nights. So they were in high school at the time. So he would drive from the next town over. He would drive like 45 minutes after my mom left for work, come over to our house. And he used to bribe me because he would bring his Dreamcast.
Oh,
He would bring Grandia 2, and he would bring me specifically a Mama Rosa pizza.
nice.
He would put the pizza in the oven. He would set up that in the living room for me. And he'd be like, okay, we're going to go to her bedroom. Don't bother us. And I kind of figured what was going on there, but like, you know,
Put Grandia 2 pizza. I mean,
yeah, Grandia 2 and pizza, man. That was the way it was. Like, I played that game a lot during that time. I did bother them on occasion, and that's only because I got stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Then he would come and figure it out for me real quick, and then, yeah, so fun into that tale. My nephew came around. I'm not saying that's directly related, but yeah, that's how my nephew came to be. He turned 18 this year, so yeah, just graduated high
Damn,
school.
man.
Yeah, dude, it's
Time
a trip.
flies.
It's a trip, man. But yeah,
I have an interesting relationship with Grandia because I have played a little bit of every single Grandia game,
mm-hmm.
but I've never dived deep into them. They're actually on my list of things like I do want to commit to at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, like Grandia 2 and Grandia 3, I rented from a like Hollywood Video,
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't own them at the time. I would say that Grandia 3 was the one I got super into. Like
Mhm.
I actually really thought that game was cool, but I had to return it at some point. So
Yeah, of course.
you know how it goes. The woes.
And 2 is the superior, man. 1 is okay, 2 is great. 3 I never played,
Yeah.
but 2 is where it's at. Like, kind of set the mold for what a main character should be to me. Ryodo is awesome. He's just a really cool, complicated character. And he doesn't really want to be in the position he's in for like the first half of the game, but he is. And he's pissed about it, but he deals with it, and he's a good person, but he's hard-edged. I dig that. Like, that to me is what a main character ought to be in that style of fantasy. So that's why that gets my number 5 slot. I didn't remember how much I loved this game until I played it again. And I was like,
That
yeah.
sounds like a good number 5 slot. Like I've heard nothing but good things about Grandia. This thing, and I can say this too. Like I said, I've played a little bit of all of them. I don't think I've ever not liked my time with them. I don't think I ever stopped playing them because I wasn't into it. It's just other things came up, or it just wasn't a priority.
Yeah.
So I mean, my experience with them have been good, and then I hear nothing but good things about them. So I mean,
It's wonderful.
fully respect that decision, man.
It's wonderful.
Mine's my number 5. So I talked about how much I like Dragon's Dogma. That's usually my number 5 pick, and it still is. But I figure since I've talked so much about it, I'll do like the one that's basically interchangeable with Dragon's Dogma for me. And so that's a series actually. It's called White Knight Chronicles. So
Yeah.
White Knight Chronicles 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
Super solid game series. Still has one of the most interesting stories I've experienced, as well as it does the whole like self-insert character thing like really well because it weirdly works. You get to make your own character, but you are not the main character. You're essentially a coworker of the main character.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so you both work at this shop, and like your boss is like, hey, like there's this event going on at the palace, like you need to deliver this to the palace. It's super important. Don't fuck it up. and so you're both like, yes sir, like we'll go do that.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not the main character, like you're the coworker of the main character.
That's neat.
And like through the events that unfold with the story, like you basically just are along for the ride with all the main cast, and like
neat.
you can play your own character and like all that stuff, but it's just so weird. Like it's the first time I've had an insert character like that, and it works super well. That insert character as well is also used for an online mode they have, where you could it was similar to kind of like an MMO vibe, but like not a full MMO. But you could play online with other self-insert characters basically, and do these like cool missions to get like armor and weapons, and the knights in the title. Imagine like a Gundam, but like a huge suit of armor, basically.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, it's a fantasy game where you get a big suit of armor Gundam, basically.
That's
and
cool.
that's why the game's called White Knight Chronicles. Like, it's just the various ones that you get. The online mode is so that your self-insert character can get their own like knight arc, essentially.
Oh, cool.
So you can get that as well, which is really cool. Which it was so satisfying to do that too, because there's a point in the story where like the big bad disables everyone's night arc, so you can't use them, and so only the bad guys using a night arc. But since you're not technically important, like it doesn't disable yours, so you can use yours to like save everybody basically in that fight.
Cool.
Yeah, super interesting. And then the combat was so interesting because it had a system of like low, middle, high basically. And some enemies will have like a really guarded like midsection, so you hit them in the legs or the head, or sometimes they're like everything up to the head was guarded, so you hit them in the head specifically. I think it went a little bit deeper than that. I can't quite remember, but like, yeah, it's very, very unique, and there's multiple weapons to choose from. You can use pretty much any fantasy trope weapon you can think of is in that game. So
cool.
It's cool. Like, can't recommend that enough. And the story was just, like I said, it's very interesting. And I actually think for the most part, all the characters are very likable.
Cool.
I don't, except maybe the main character, oddly enough, like your coworker from the beginning of the game. Like, I think he's the most flat of all the characters, but even still, not a bad character.
Neat. That sounds really fun, man.
Yeah, it's on PS3, and I was lucky enough to when I got into the series, I got the combo pack. Basically, it was like White Knight Chronicles 1 and 2 International Edition, which means it just had all the stuff from Japan in it as well, but translated.
Oh, cool.
And if the normal version doesn't have that, I recommend the international version because I enjoy that one quite a bit. And if you get that version too, like, it doesn't feel like a 1 and 2. It feels like just a very long game because it's seamless blending. Like, it works really well.
That's fucking rad.
Yeah,
I gotta
it's
check
great.
that out, man. That sounds really fucking cool.
Yeah, sadly the online mode is no longer present though.
That's okay.
I was actually a group of my friends who all played on PSN together, like doing quests and stuff. Like we basically like sat there while the servers were being deactivated. Like it was really sad. Yeah, it was a lot of fun though.
Damn.
Yeah, but that's my number 5. I should mention too, for me, like these games are not like quality wise, or it's like number 5 is the worst of the list. Like no, it's just level of importance, I would say, to me is what it is for me. So
Totally. Moving into number 4s. Yeah. So number 4 for me is Star Fox 64. Specifically, Star Fox 64. Not saying they're not all great. To correct myself on something I said in the last podcast, Star Fox did get another iteration, but it was for the Wii U. So that entire console was a bombshell. So never got any traction, but there is actually one that comes after Assault, which is really rad. But yeah, so it's a very, very nostalgic game for me. I've been playing this one longer than any other video game. It's the first one I could do.
Well, you've mentioned before, like you can knock it out in like an afternoon, can't you?
Yeah, So considering I have it emulated on my phone and my PS4 controller connects to my phone, I beat this game on my lunch breaks at work.
Nice, dude.
Yeah. It's just, I know this game better than any other. This one, like I said, like the first game I could actually get a hold of and like grasp and understand how it worked. And there was no files on it. Like Ocarina of Time had the 3 files, right? So I couldn't play that game because I couldn't have my own file. So my mom and my sister would very rarely let me play that game because, you know, they had their own progress that they were worried about, which I totally understand. Star Fox didn't have that. So you literally boot it and you play it, and that's it. You're competing for high scores. So that meant that I could play that game pretty much whenever I wanted.
Yeah.
Another great thing about it was like my mom and my sister, they had their fun with it, and then it just kind of sat in the stack.
Yeah.
Like, so that meant I could have free reign. I could play that whenever I wanted because they weren't worried about it. They weren't concerned about that game anymore. I could take the game to my friend's house and we could play it together. Like, because there was a really, really terrible PvP mode in that game where you were flying against each other. Anyway, that was fun too. But like, it's just really great, man. Like, I adore that game. Like, as far as like 64 era, the best. Like, top tier. I love it so much. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think there's something for that too. Like, there's something good about. I talked a lot of shit about nostalgia in the remake episode, but I think there is that positive side of nostalgia where you can be like, no, this is familiar territory. Like, this is something that, like, if I just want to have fun for like a short amount of time, like, I can just do that and like have a good time, and like that's it. You know, like that's pure to me. I think that's great.
Yeah, it's not for anybody else, which is what I love about it. Like, I would totally recommend that everybody play this game, but you may not get as much out of it as I do. I did find somebody who did get as much out of this game as I did. So, my buddy Brad, he has pretty much a similar story with that game. Used to play it before school, all that. He came over to my house a few years ago, like 2016 or so. Came over to my house to spend the weekend. I hadn't seen him since like high school. And we were palling out, talking about all the good old stuff. And he's like, oh, you have Star Fox for 64? And I was like, yeah. He's like, well, I used to play. And I was like, okay.
I see where this is going.
I was like, okay, you used to play Star Fox. I was like, yeah. He's like, do you mind if I play? And I was like, no, that's fine. You want to trade ships like on deaths or whatever? And he's like, yeah, that's fair. Or how about between levels? And I was like, okay, between levels? All right, let's go. So he booted up and started playing it. And I was like, oh, this motherfucker plays Star Fox. So we spent that entire night doing every single run of that game, like every path that you can do, trading back and forth on levels, trading back and forth on runs. Like, we played that game from like probably 7:30 at night till like 11 o'clock the next day, just playing. Dude, my 64 was so hot. Like, it was amazing. Like, I was like, dude, this guy plays Star Fox. Like, so Brad, if you by chance catch this podcast, you know, holler at me sometime. I'm trying to play some Star Fox again.
I think it's great that your number 4 is a space game, because my number 4 is actually a space game. It's a game called Rogue Galaxy.
Rogue Galaxy, okay.
It was on PS2, and it's a mixture of like your high fantasy with like your high space elements. Like, space is like the galaxy is explorable. Like, that's a huge thing. But like, you play a character who like grew up on a desert planet basically. And then he's like, I want to be a famous hunter. Like, I don't want to live here forever. And then opportunity knocks, and he gets mistaken for like one of the most famous bounty hunters in the galaxy. And there's this infamous pirate who is recruiting the best hunters in the galaxy. And so he gets his wish. Like, he becomes like a pirate, basically, like a space pirate.
Oh, cool.
And the cool thing about that ship too is that like it actually looks like a ship, but just like with jets on the back, basically.
Like Treasure Planet?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, dude, it's so good. And the story's phenomenal. The characters are all very likable. Even the ones that are kind of weird, you're like, I kind of like this character. Yeah, like, this is cool, you know? It's got a very unique leveling progression path, because your levels and your abilities are not the same. Because you can level up as much as you want to. But in order to learn new abilities and increase your stats and stuff like that, there's this grid where you have to find items in the world. And it will say like, oh, you need 5 of like this fruit or whatever to unlock this ability. And it's just like this kind of like checklist board, basically, of like stuff you need to level up. And it sounds really simple, but like, if you're like really into it, you're just like, oh man, like, where the fuck did I see one of those flowers? Because I need 5 of those flowers now. Like, where did I find that flower before?
Oh shit.
And like, what plant do I need to go to get that flower? And each level is not massive. Like, it's not a thing where like you go to a planet, like it's huge and open world. Like, it's very sandboxy. Your typical kind of like dungeon exploring RPG.
Cool.
Each planet's like a dungeon essentially. But yeah, Rogue Galaxy is amazing, and it feeds into a specific kind of obsession I have with like JRPGs especially, which is like leveling something up and then combining it with something else, and leveling that up and combining it with something else. It does that with your weapons. So like, each weapon has like a bar you fill up through combat, and you get 2 weapons that you fill up both their bars. You can feed it to a frog you find, just like
cool.
a cool galactic space frog you find on the planet. He eats them and spits out a new weapon and it becomes one, and like it's just super fun.
That sounds really cool. What console was this on?
I was on PS2. They actually give a PS4 remaster of it though.
Really?
Yeah, it's highly recommend. Because I mean, it honestly too, like the game looked amazing for its time, and I was looking at like the differences between just the PS2, PS4 version. I was like, this is not. I'm not a graphics snob, so maybe I feel that way, but I was like, honestly, it's not that different. And I think a lot of it has to do with the art style because it's very cel shaded and like very almost like comic book style, like art style for it.
Cool.
Because it's an anime game, so like, but yeah, it's very cool.
That sounds fucking rad, man.
It's really good. Highly recommend. My buddy Jordan actually, known him for like 25 years now. He's the one who introduced me to that game, so I appreciate that. That game really was worth its time. It was very fucking good.
That sounds fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah, dude, and like, man, each planet kind of has like a different vibe. Like, there's this one, I believe it's called Zidane, if I remember right. It might be something else. It might be Vidon. I can't remember. But it's basically like a gangster planet. Like, there's like hooligans and thugs, so like it's basically mafioso stuff.
Oh, dude, cool.
And like you get one of your party characters who's like a big dog man with a metal arm. It's fucking awesome. Like,
that's fucking sweet, man.
that game's incredible. Yeah, highly recommend.
Rogue Galaxy. Yeah, I'm gonna check that out. I'm gonna see if they got it on Steam.
Yeah, they might.
Yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's number 4 for me.
Good choice. Number 3 for me is the first 2 Darksiders games. So we established before that's not cheating. I'm
No, yeah.
Okay.
I
Cool.
did 4 Breath of Fire games.
Yeah. Okay.
And Winding Chronicles 1 and 2.
Excellent. So we talked about this game a little bit before, and you said that it felt like a like Zelda in a way. Like Darksiders 1 was very Zelda based.
I'm impressed by those games because each one is a different experience for one thing, but it's like they mash together. And this is why I didn't like Lords of Shadow, for example. Like, it felt like a mismatch of mechanics that did not work well. And I'm not knocking that. If you can do a good blend, great. I think I said in the episode, like, the Shadow of Mordor games, great blend of mechanics from other games. Works really well. Darksiders is the same way. Like, the first one was like a God of War mixed with like Ocarina of Time, basically. And the second one was like God of War mixed with like Diablo, basically. Like, it was super cool.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same feelings I have. I feel like if you exchange like the God of War mechanics for like Devil May Cry mechanics, that's more what it felt like to me, and the aesthetic too. Which it might be a sin, but no Devil May Cry games made either one of my lists. I think they're good games, but I don't think they're. I think this was truly great. Like, I enjoyed it. Lots of moments in that game that like made my heart jump. I was like, oh man, this is so cool. Like, it was so out of left field too. Like, it was unlike anything I had played, other than like Zelda, you know. And it's what I was looking for. It felt like grown up Zelda to me, and I was like,
I think the whole start of the game is like left field because like you're right along with the character. You're like, I don't know what the fuck is happening, but
here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it was awesome. I loved those games. I stumbled upon Darksiders 2. I didn't even know it was in production, and then I happened to be at GameStop and found a copy. Like, it was new, and I was like, yeah, I'm buying that. And I brought it home. I was like, probably shouldn't play that. I should probably go to bed. I got work tomorrow. I ended up calling in. Yeah, that game grabbed me hard, and it hasn't let go. Like, it's a series that I continually come back to. Like, you know what? I want to see what Death's up to. And I go and play through Darksiders 2 again. Or I'm like, you know what? I just want to smash some shit. I'll play some more again.
Yeah, man.
I didn't play the third one. I heard mixed reviews on the third game.
It's kind of like it's like Castlevania and like God of War basically is like the combination I'd put on that game.
Because Fury uses a whip, right?
Yeah, still good. I was actually gonna say like I have played every installment of the Darksiders series so far. I did not finish the latest one, which was like Darksiders Genesis. And like, you want to talk about Diablo, like that game is Diablo and Darksiders. Like, the whole game plays like a Diablo game, but in a good way. I'd say it plays like Diablo 3 does, basically.
Awesome. I love Diablo 3.
Yeah, and you get to switch back and forth between Strife and War. Like, those are 2 characters you play as.
That's cool.
And it depends on it's co-op too, so like you can play with like people couch co-op, which I thought was really cool.
Wow. Yeah.
But yeah, I have not finished that one, but still nothing but positive things to say about it so far. I think every installment's good.
Yeah, dude, it's I haven't played those two, but the first two, man, they're just great games. Like, it was also the first game that I found on my own.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the first like 360 era games that it's not my friends were all playing Left 4 Dead, and I hate that series with a burning passion. And I was like, fuck that, I don't want to sit in your like. Basically, the way it shook out is like if I went over to my buddy's at Austin's house and we were all hanging out there, it didn't matter if like you were teenagers. It didn't matter if there was beer involved. Like I'd go over and like, yeah, we're gonna play Left 4 Dead. I'm like, I'm gonna go hang out somewhere else. Like I'm going home. I don't want to play this. This game is stupid.
I mean, fundamentally too, Darksiders is just really fucking unique. Like,
Yeah,
it's unique.
I don't mean to gush.
No, that's what this episode's about, gushing. Yeah.
I love those games. They just make me happy, and they're just fun as hell to play.
Yeah.
Makes me feel good. Yeah, that's my number 3 slot.
Yeah. No disagreements from me whatsoever. Yeah, I agree.
Oh, yeah, dude,
Very
they're
very
just
good
great.
games, man. My number 3. So these next 3 for me, these are 3 games or series, I should say. Like one of them is a series, but these are 3 that actually mean a lot to me. So the third one is called Lunar. And there's Lunar 1 and 2. It was Silver Star Harmony, and then or Silver Star Story, then like Eternal Blue. I never got to finish Eternal Blue. Still good, but Lunar, the first one, just man, it has such a special place in my heart. And it's pure. I was talking about that a little bit earlier. Like I would say it's pure, because when you're a little kid playing an RPG, like what's more relatable than like a kid who lives in like a sleepy village wants to be a hero?
Yeah.
What's more relatable than that? It's fully voice acted for the most part. Great anime cutscenes. Fantastic music. Like that soundtrack alone, super solid. Like I still listen to that soundtrack sometimes.
Really?
Yeah, the soundtrack's amazing. It's just got a great OST, man. And yeah, so basically the main character, like he wants to be a hero, like his hero, like there's this legendary hero like Dragon Master Dine, and he's like, I want to be a hero just like him. Like he protected the goddess, like he became a dragon master, which is like a trial basically, like getting these blessings from 5 different dragons. Like it's
nice.
like I want to do that. Like I want to do that, and I like it because it's not. It doesn't feel right away unobtainable. It's like this is a big deal, but it's not a thing where it's like, oh, but there's no way I could ever possibly do that, basically. It's just, it's unrealistic, but it's like, that's what I want to do. Like, I want to have a grand adventure like that. And the beginning of the game is that, like, he's monologuing this, where he's just like, he's at the monument to this great hero, and he's like, man, I really want to do something like this. And then your friend comes up, who's very money hungry, and he's like, hey, like, those, that ice barrier that was, like, blocking the dragon cave? Like, it melted. Like, we can go there now. And he's like, if we can get a dragon diamond, we can sell it for a lot of money. And it's like, then we'll be rich and popular, because that's his motivations.
Oh, cool. All right.
But yeah, and like that kickstarts his journey, where he, it starts off very comical, very relaxed, very just like, we're just going on an adventure, guys. Like this is what it is. It's nothing more than that. And then like it unfolds from there. But it's just such a good game, and from start to finish, I would say just solid. I mean, story's super good. That game's actually interesting too, because I think I talked about this a little bit, but it was so popular when it came to the States that it was on multiple consoles. So they had a Game Boy Advance version, they had a Dreamcast version, they had a PS1 version, they had I think like a Game Boy Color version. Like,
what? Really?
Yeah, it came out in multiple iterations. And obviously, the smaller the console, the more watered down it was. But that's how cool it was, And I played it on PS1. And that's actually one thing too, is like it did get a remake on PSP. They rebuilt it from the ground up.
Oh, really?
And they basically took every single good idea from all the iterations of the game and put it in one game.
Really?
And it made it like, it went from like this game's already amazing to like, this game's really fucking amazing now.
Really?
Because it just completely changed the game. Like it was super solid. And I think the casts are all likable in like an interesting way. Like they're flawed. Each cast member in your main party is flawed in some way. They are not your stereotypical heroes, like.
So they're real people.
Yeah, like
That's cool.
Alex is the main character who you play. He's got self-doubt. He's like, I want to be a hero, but I don't know, can I be a hero? Like, you've got Nash, who's like really fucking full of himself, and like the problem is he's a great wizard, so like you can't necessarily say like well, you're not, but like also shut the fuck up. Like that's
Right.
pretty much what it is with him. You've got Mia, who's also a great wizard, but like has no confidence whatsoever. She's the complete opposite of Nash. Um,
Really? That's a cool
Kyle,
dynamic.
yeah, Kyle is a thug, like he's a bandit basically. But
Hmm.
Kyle's like he's a really good warrior. And if he just applied himself a little bit, he could accomplish so much. But he doesn't. He just gets drunk and hits on women, pretty much.
Oh, okay. Well,
And you've got Jessica, who she's a priest of Althena, which is the goddess in that game.
mhm.
She's a really powerful cleric, but she has anger issues like no other, and she constantly flies off the fucking handle.
Oh, I love it.
And her and Kyle used to date, so you can imagine how that went.
Oh, cool. Tension.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's got everything, man. It's got betrayal, it's got laughs, it's got like it's the ultimate, I would say, feel good adventure. If you want like that high fantasy feel good story.
Hmm. Well, I mean, ultimate besides Chrono Trigger, right? Yeah, I'm just playing. Dude, that sounds awesome, Lunar.
Yeah, I actually recently got a PS1 copy. It was
I
very
saw that,
expensive.
yeah.
It was very expensive, but I went for it. I do have my PSP still, and I could still play it on that. That's the other thing, like accessibility, man. I wish the PSP version of the game would become more accessible.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, so that's one of the rare occasions where I think the remake is better. It is superior just because you can't argue with more good, basically.
Yeah, no,
it's
no way.
it's purely more good.
Yeah, and it's all influenced from itself, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think that's bad at all.
Yeah, I would say like the PSP version is like its final form, basically.
Yeah,
And
it
yeah,
finally all got put together. I
Yeah.
dig that. That's why I had such high hopes for the Vita when it came out, but that flopped so hard. I had one, and then obviously I don't have it anymore. But
I was hoping that they would kind of capitalize on what the Vita was supposed to do, where like you could like hold it in your hand, but like play it on your TV still. Like
yeah,
I was hoping more of that would happen because that would make it better at least.
it did do the thing it said it was going to do really well, which means if you're playing a game on your PS4 or your PS3, and you pause the game, went to the home menu, picked up your Vita, you could open it if it was compatible on your Vita and walk with it. That was cool.
Mm.
I did that with I think Black Flag is the first game I
Oh.
did that with.
Yeah, I never had a Vita. I just all I heard was like that it did not do stuff well. So
No, they released it with a very limited catalog,
mm-hmm.
and the games that they had were not good.
Yeah.
The this will come back later too, but the Vita store had a very, very, very important game, and it's the only reason I kept my Vita for as long as I did. It's because you could get this game off the PlayStation Store for Vita only, and bots me. We'll get to that later.
Yeah. Well, I'm hey, passing the turn to you. So
Oh, perfect. So number 2 title for me, Soul Calibur 2 for GameCube. I just played Soul Calibur 5 the other day, again with some friends. But this game is important to me because it was the first fighting game where weapons were like the important thing. Like literally like your soul was etched into a weapon. I thought that was really, really cool concept. And it was the first game that I'd put time in and it was better than all my friends. Like all my friends were playing like Mortal Kombat and shit like that. I was playing Soul Calibur. When fighting game tournaments broke out in middle school and high school, that's what we played: Soul Calibur and Mortal Kombat. And it's so much fun. Like I love fighting game tournaments. I love having a great time with that. It's just awesome. So again, thanks to my big sister for showing me this game. Interesting fact: we bought this game brand new from Walmart, got it home, opened the plastic, popped it open, and there was a memory card inside of it. Inside the memory card slot. And it was a big, black, fat memory card. One I've never seen before.
I still have one of those. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, this thing was like crazy. There's no markings on it. It was just a big, black, fat. Like the end was hella fat, and then like it's phallic in shape. Like let's be real, like it was phallic. So I was like, what the hell? I've never seen that before. And we put it in, and it had all of the data for that game. Everything, like the cool weapons master quest that you could do, where you went through and beat specific people and then bought all the weapons in the game and unlocked them in the arcade modes and the extra arcade modes. The game, what was on that memory card was that game was completely finished. It was done. It was beaten. Like everything was there. Everything was done. Talking to my sister and then her talking to her gamer friends, we're pretty sure we got a developer card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I still have that card, so that's just nuts to me. Like, that we just happen to have that. So what was great about that is like we got it home, we put the card in, we played it a little bit first, then we put the card in and played it, and we were able to use every element of that game right off the bat. So when my friends wanted to come play that, they played on I brought that memory card with me.
Yeah.
It's like, if you guys want to play with everything, here it is, and I didn't have to fucking work for it.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It was just a really interesting thing that happened. My second not so fun story with that game. So that is definitely my point of pride.
That's super cool. Like, I've never heard of that happening.
Me either. And hey, it happened to me.
Yeah.
Super cool. So I've got a huge point of pride with that game. I'm super good at it. Like, that's not a brag. That's just a fact of life. I am good at that game. My old roommate brought a friend over, and we were hanging out and having a good time. I didn't really like this dude. I still don't really like this dude. But I had went to bed, and they were playing on my PlayStation 4. And then when I got up, this dude had gotten into my cabinet and pulled out my GameCube. Like, not really cool thing to do to somebody, like, if you don't really know them that well and in their house and you're just going through my shit. I wasn't happy about that. Pulled out my GameCube, booted up Soul Calibur 2, and cleared all my high scores. Like,
wow.
Yeah, I was so mad, dude. Like, I asked him to leave. I was like, I know my roommate's not up yet, but you need to get out of my house, dude. Like, you need to go now. So I spent the next 2 weeks reestablishing all of my high scores. I was so pissed, dude. Like, I've never spite gamed like that before. Like, I didn't want to play Soul Calibur, really, but I did. I was like, I gotta put everything back. I gotta have the top tier on everything again. I just thought that was a super rude fucking thing to do. Who does that? Like, I understand, like, if, like, I had gotten up that morning and he was, like, playing my PlayStation, no big deal. I don't really care about that. The dude dug my GameCube out. Like,
yeah, that's weird. I agree.
It was really dirtbaggy. Like, and side story, too, like, I'd made dinner that night, and, like, he didn't have, like, any special, like, diet problems or whatever, but, like, I served up chow, and everybody was, like, super down for it except for him. Like, he tried a little bit of, like, the pork chops and stuff that I had made, and he's like, yeah, I'm not eating that. And then he fucking went into town and got a fucking burrito and came back, and I was like, the whole time I was looking at my roommate, I was like, you need to get your boy, dude. Like, he's kind of being a rude asshole. Like, and just, like, that was, like, the fucking cherry on top. And then I had a huge argument with my roommate about that. He's like, you shouldn't ask my friends to leave. And I was like, tell your friends to stay out of my shit. Like, that seems pretty fair, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my not-so-fun story of Soul Calibur 2, but...
The Soul Calibur Bandit. The Soul Calibur Burrito Bandit.
Yeah, the stupid bastard. He needs to get his life figured out. If you're listening, you know who you are.
Oh, man.
But yeah, that's my number 2 title.
Mine is another... my number 2 is another twofer. So it's a game and the sequel.
I think I know this game.
Yeah, I'm sure I've talked about it with you. And for me, so... This one is interchangeable with my number 1 slot because I do value this game that highly. Mm-hmm. But it's called Shadow Hearts.
1 and 2.
1 and 2, yes, yep. Specifically. The third one can go fuck itself.
Yeah.
That was obviously a cash grab. It was not very good. I'm still committed to finishing it. To this day, I'm still trying to finish it. I'm just like, I really fucking hate this game. But to this day, I'm committed to trying to finish it.
You're not better though, right?
I mean, man, it's so... What do you even say about this game? Where to start, I would say. Obviously, the story is phenomenal. It's Modern Arcana, too, which is very interesting because it takes place during, like, World War I, like World War II era.
Cool. Okay.
But the excuse for people being awful is demons and not humanity, basically.
Oh, nice.
Like, the second game has Rasputin in it, like, the Rasputin from Russia.
Really?
Yeah, and, like, he's possessed by Asmodeus, and, like, that's why he's a scumbag in that game.
Oh, totally.
But, yeah, that's the vibe, is, like, demons and zombies and shit like that exists. Each character in both games... the way the game kind of functions is that each character has a special ability that makes them unique. And there's some, like, it's pretty much stuff that only they can do and no one else can do, which I think is really cool. this is kind of a, I wouldn't say like counteracted, but like kind of elaborate a little bit more on the second game, because you can start equipping like magic to everybody as well, so everyone can use magic, but then everybody still has their own special abilities essentially. So it created a little bit more versatility in that. I think the first one actually did it better in that regard, though. The magic system I was not crazy about in the second game. Still, it's good, but I wasn't crazy about it. So yeah, the setting, like, it's just very modern arcana kind of like situation. The way that game starts, the first one, is kind of what we were talking about, like Darksiders. It's like you don't know what the fuck is going on. You just start the game and it happens. You start the game. This magician dude is massacring everybody on a train.
Oh shit.
The hero that you play stands up and, kills the demon he was using to kill everyone on the train. Gets his arm fucking cut off.
Oh shit.
Then picks up his arm, he reattaches it magically for whatever reason.
Oh cool.
And then the magician dude like blasts you across the train. And then the game starts and you have to walk back up to the train.
Oh neat.
Yeah, and like the whole, like, you have no idea what the fuck is going on, obviously. You can access his special ability right away, which is that he takes the souls of like demons and like combines with them basically, and like turns into like various demons based on like the element.
Really?
And you can do that right away. And so you'd be like, what the fuck is fusion? And you do that and it's like, what the fuck is this? But you can do that.
That's super cool.
Yeah, the combat system is interactive turn-based. So the lore of that game is there's an entity called the Judgment Ring. The Judgment Ring controls all. It's basically the Wheel of Fate. And so when you attack in that game, a ring pops up and you have like spots on the ring you have to hit to succeed at your attack. Same with magic, using an item, whatever. That's how you interface with that game.
Yeah, okay.
And there's even like puzzles in the game as well where you have to like hit the rings, like it's very interactive and very interesting in that regard. The first one was mismarketed very poorly. It was labeled as a survival horror game, and it's not a survival horror game.
No.
It's not at all. Like I would graciously call it a survival horror like RPG maybe, but even then the survival horror part's very hard to tack onto it. So it was horribly mismarketed. And it was one of those things where people bought it being like, I want a survival horror game. I like Silent Hill. I like Resident Evil. And then they're like, what the fuck is this? This is an RPG.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
So it did not get the love. I would not say the love, like the exposure it needed to kind of like become a success. But what's really cool is that it got its sequel because the people who did play the game and really liked it were vocal enough to be like, no, this game's really good. We want more of this. And so eventually the studio who made the first game combined with another studio and the second one got made.
That's awesome.
And it's such a triumph of a story, like it's what you want to see. You want to see this thing like deserve the love, got the love. Unfortunately that's the downside as well, because there's a third one and that was clearly a cash grab, but
not good at all.
You can't have this incredible story from the first two games and then make a third game that has nothing to do with the first two games whatsoever.
Yeah, no.
And all the like it has a weird brand of humor where like it's very dark and serious, but also it's got comedy in it.
Sure, yeah.
Some of the characters are goofy, some of them are kind of wacky, The third game is basically all just that. It's just every character's fucking weird.
Yeah, that's not great.
And the vibe is not what I would call serious at all. The vibe is kind of that whole thing that entire time. And it's like, it's just not balanced the same way,
Did that game come out after Borderlands 2?
I don't know. All three of them were on PS2, so I don't know.
No, Borderlands 2 is a 360 game. That's just interesting because I'm just trying to draw parallels. That whole like serious setting, not serious characters thing. I believe that Infection started with what was a perfect game, which was Borderlands 2, but infected other games and like. It's just some research I'm doing. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. But
I mean, I think what it came down to really was just, I think the third one was a cash grab. They saw the success the second one had, and they're like, yeah, let's make another one. I think I remember reading that like the team who made those two games like were not on board with the third one, so it didn't happen like the way they wanted to. So like it was basically fresh faces being like, well, how do we make a third game? And that's what they came up with.
And it's not good.
It's not good, no. But I mean, man, they have the so the first one has two different endings.
Mm-hmm.
The what people refer to as the bad ending is the canon ending.
Oh no!
So it's a very macabre ending to a game right away, and it's explained very well in the game the entire time leading up to it. That like something bad's going to happen, but we're trying to save the world right now. But something bad is going to happen. The second game has three different endings. You have like a normal ending, a bad ending, and the good ending.
Mm-hmm.
And the good ending is that the main character dies.
Oh shit!
Because of what's going on with the character the entire time in that game.
Shit.
It's just the writing is so good, and we kind of talked about this too. Like, you know, Lunar, like the characters are flawed. They are real human beings. Like some of them, one of them's a vampire, but they're real people. You know what I mean? They have their flaws. They have their whatever, and even the characters that function as like an antagonistic source, they're flawed. They're human beings, and you're just like, yeah, I get it. You know, like a big motivation is one of the bad guys you fight in the second game. Like you actually that character was in the first game.
Oh really?
And his love interest died in his arms basically.
Oh shit!
And so what he's trying to do in the second game, like you kind of feel for him. You're like, yeah, I get it. Like he got fucked. I get it. You know, I mean, and it's really hard to bitterly like fight him and be like, you know, fuck you. It's more like, man, why do we have to do this? Like,
God, I don't want to kick your ass, but I'm gonna.
Yeah. So just incredible writing. Not much I would change about them. Like they're up there with like literal perfection for me. I love those two games.
I really need to play them.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah.
So top choice is pretty easy.
Yeah, I believe our top choice is same, right?
Yeah, it's the same game. Yeah. It's the best game ever made in my opinion.
Yeah. Do you want to say at the same time we can try?
No, I'm not that coordinated.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a Legend of Dragoon.
Legend of Dragoon.
Oh yes.
I'm sure even if you're not a hardcore RPG enthusiast, you've heard about this game because there's a cult following for it who talk about it constantly.
They really are a cult at this point, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I was so excited when, again, for fucking Vita, that All-Stars game came out and they had Dart rendered.
Yeah, PlayStation All-Stars, yeah.
They had Dart rendered, but chose not to.
That's because that game crashed hard. Like, nobody cared.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, but... You know, I don't think there'll ever be an experience based on, like, my nostalgia and love for that game and it being as good as it is. I don't think that cross-section will ever happen again.
No, I don't think so either. And I mean, like, same here. Like, I have a lot of really positive nostalgia feelings for that game. But I play that game annually. I play that game all the way through at least once a year.
Yeah.
Because it's worth it. Like, it's very, very good. And that's rare for me. I don't like doing repetitive things very much. Grinding is one thing in an RPG, but like I don't like playing the game more than once. Most of the time I'll just be like, I'm good. Like I don't want to play it again.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, with that game, I being serious, I play it annually.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
There's so much to it. There's like we've hit this nail really hard tonight. Real people. And I don't believe there's a single character in that game that does not even the little NPCs that you can talk to. They're like, especially in the first disc, in the Sardian War, it's like these people are going through a wartime, like, and getting to see like I'm trying to remain spoiler free pretty often, but you go to the swamp area and you see all those dead soldiers of Basil. And they're like, there are no enemies here in death. Rest in peace. Like,
yeah, you have literally both sides dying, and it's like, yeah, you know.
Yeah, like that was the first game that like gave me the concept of like, dude, war is hell.
Yeah,
it's bad for everyone. Like,
I mean, in the first disc too, like you go to all these different villages where like they've been either affected by the war really heavily, or like they're ported up and like have like little fortresses made out of their city basically, because it's like, yeah, we gotta defend ourselves. Like, it's all the more powerful, I think, when you can find characters who are optimistic in that game. And there's optimistic characters like random NPCs you can talk to. Like, you know, we're doing our best. Like,
yeah, or like that little kid you run into is just all he wants to do is fight. He wants to fight to end the war. Like, That's cool, man. Like, there's so much depth, and when I talk about a lived-in game, that's definitely it. Like, nothing feels out of place to me.
Yeah.
Nothing feels wrong. Not like yeah. If I was stuck on a desert island with one game to play, that would be it.
Yeah, same here. I don't know. That's tough. Like Shadow Hearts is really good, but if it's only one game, I can't play them both. So Legend of Dragoon.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, very easily. I mean, the whole story has that vibe, and like, there's so many characters that I'm not going to be spoiler free because
Okay.
I have a beef with people who review this game,
Mm-hmm.
because I have watched a lot of Legend of Dragoon reviews.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of them nail it on the head. I don't think any of them fully, like, you can tell they're just playing the game to make a video about it.
Sure.
And I know it's a very common, like, hey, you're nostalgic, you're gonna say that, like, you love that game so much, like, nothing there would be perfect. It's not that. There's so many things that I'm going to talk about today that no, it's never brought up once in the videos I've watched. Maybe someone out there has made one. Link me them in the comments. I'd love to watch them. If not, just to be angry about it. To put in the concept, like, I do not use this word lightly. It is the only game I would call perfect.
Same.
I don't use that word lightly at all. And even just stretching that, like, there are games I really like. I've talked about a lot of games I really like tonight. If we really got down to it, like, yeah, I could probably change one or two things about them, or like, yeah, I didn't really love that much, but everything else was good. This does not exist in this game for me.
No,
this game is literal perfection, down to everything, man. Like, there's random number generators for loot, and most people don't realize that because you just run through the area and get to the end. But if you grind out a little bit, like, enemies drop random gear, and sometimes that gear is really fucking good for some reason.
Yeah, you need certain randomly drop shit to kill certain enemies that you randomly encounter, i.e. the damn birds. I hate those fights.
Yeah, there's higher level around like the second or third disc where like accessories start dropping and like pieces of armor stop dropping, and it's like you can combine those. By the way, there's build potential in this game.
Yeah.
People never fucking talk about that. Combining weapons, magic items, accessories, bits of armor, you can create a powerhouse of a character.
Totally.
But no one ever talks about that because it's just like, this character's really weak. They're not. You're just not using them correctly.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
You don't understand speed like you should. That would be my guess if the character I'm thinking of is getting called weak. Like, you don't understand speed like you think you do.
Yeah. It's just, that's never talked about. Backing up a little bit, like, I can't praise the story enough.
No, me either.
Because not only is the story overall amazing, it does things in that game that you don't see often, where, like, there's a mechanic where you transform into a dragoon. That's the name of the game.
Yeah.
Lore reasons. The character who knows about this stuff explains to you, like, hey, don't use this too often, though. Like, it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
It is explained. And one of the biggest bitches I hear about this game is like, well, when you turn into a dragoon, you can only use attack magic or attacking. It's like,
that's what it's for.
Yeah. It's like, you're not thinking about healing your allies unless you're Shauna. But,
Yeah.
Like, that's why, like, that is the game telling you, use this sparingly. Use this when you think it's okay to use it. Because you can't use items, you can't run away, you can't guard. Like, use this when you think it's a good idea because you're locked into it for 1 to 5 turns.
Yeah, and you're going to be slinging hate the entire time.
And speaking of dragoon forms too, like, they're equalizers. So the game has an addition system where, kind of like I talked about with Shadow Hearts, where not as simple as Shadow Hearts, this game's more complex, but you gotta hit buttons at the right time to make your attacks go off.
Yeah.
Continue. Yeah. If for whatever reason you're bad at that, magic's an equalizer. You can trudge your way through the game by just relying on magic. You totally can. This game is so balanced that I've tested it. You can play the game start to finish, no grinding whatsoever, and you will beat the game no problem.
Yeah.
Because you get enough experience every single time to get to the heights you need to get to. And it's so rewarding too, because like, if you ever grind out 1 or 2 levels, like, it feels super good. Like, you can tell, like, this mattered, this was very impactful. I feel strong, this was cool. You don't get that with a lot of games with level systems, because you level like 5 to 10 levels and you're like, I feel adequate for this now, this feels easier than it would have been. but it doesn't feel as impactful as it does Legend of Dragoon.
No, dude. Also, it's the only turn-based style RPG game where getting into encounters is exciting for me because I'm like, oh shit, I'm about to put more points into my additions. Like,
yeah, so you level up your additions
based on skill.
based on skill. Yeah, and it's just so synergistic because you level up those additions. One, you're getting better at the game. You're getting stronger. You're leveling your Dragoon stuff, if that's something you're relying on. You're grinding out experience. You are possibly getting really good items.
Yeah.
Those are 5 points that all work synergistically together. You don't have that in games these days. You're doing one at a time very slowly, typically.
Yeah. Or focusing really hard on one and, forget the rest, which is not great.
Yeah. So, I mean, you want to talk about like a rewarding gameplay loop. That's a rewarding gameplay loop.
Oh, yeah.
And then some of the best items in the game you can flat out buy at shops, which people also openly mock, and it's like, yeah, it's rewarding you for not being a shitty person. Like,
Yeah, well,
grind out the money, you're gonna like it,
totally, yeah. Like, I think by disc 2, money is not a fucking problem for me.
Yeah, I mean, you can't buy the legendary items from the shop, but like you can buy anything, like no problem.
I get what I need, like, I buy a lot of Holy Onks. I like that a lot because instant kill is a thing, and I hate that.
Yeah.
God, I hate that.
Oh fuck! I just lost it. Oh, the items. Like I said, speaking of the items, yeah. You can carry 32 items at a time.
Yep.
And people bitch about that too. I'm like, you should be able to hold more items. Like, no, you shouldn't. Do you need 10 healing potions, or do you maybe 7 and then 3 revival items and then something else? Do you really need that magic item, or do you need more healing power?
Yeah.
The whole game is about balance. It's all about like actually putting some fucking thought into what your approach is.
100%. Like, yeah, I hear that complaint all the time too. It's like, well, I don't have enough bag space to carry all this gear. It's like, first of all, sell all those attack items. You don't need that. Like, keep maybe a couple of the big ones. Like, I keep, I can't remember what the fuck it's called. It's like the one where you get the little discs around the enemy and they shoot at the rainbows and they all come and crop. I like the way that looks. I like to do it sometimes.
Yeah.
Sue me. I also like the ones that you mash X and make them stronger. Those are cool too. But if I'm going for like a serious playthrough, I don't use any of those.
Me neither, yeah.
I get rid of all of it. And
it's not because they're not good, it's just they're not needed.
No, I need space for Angel's Prayers, Healing Rain, or Healing Breeze, or Healing Fog, depending what disc I'm on. And then, and SP Potions and Moon Serenades. Like,
yeah, those are the big ones, yeah.
That's what I need, yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a great, perfect thing.
Yeah. Something else too that I recently heard that annoyed me was people talk about the theme in the game of like every time you beat a boss, they regret what they did, and they're like, "Hey, I'm sorry I did that thing. Like, hopefully, you can forgive me, or hopefully, like things work out for the end or whatever." And someone like openly mocked that. They're like, "Well, you can really sense the theme here, can't you?" It's like, again, the character who tells you about using Dragoon spirits tells you that it's not human nature to kill, but by embracing insanity, that's when you get wars and shit. The Dragoon spirits amplify that insanity tenfold. So these people, these bosses that have Dragoon spirits they're not in a good place mentally. And so when the Dragoon spirit finally passes from them, like it's like a moment of clarity before death. That they're like, oh shit, I fucked up.
Yeah, like for lore reasons too, like they were made out of necessity. You had to be that to survive in the fucking war.
Yeah, I mean the overarching history, like I won't go that deep into it, but like the Dragon campaign where the Dragoon spirits were like made essentially, like they were a last ditch effort. They were like, we have to do this or we're gonna lose this war. And people, the Dragoon spirits are entities, like they are dragon souls, and a big theme of the game is fate. And now, like, some people they just carry the Dragoon spirit for a little bit before it finds its actual master. It's very reminiscent of, like, Tolkien's, like, Lord of the Rings, like, the One Ring is always trying to get back to Sauron. It finds little ways to influence fate to try and get to where it wants to go. That's what the Dragoon spirits do. They're looking for their true master, basically. So like if they need to let someone use it for a year or so, that's fine. They'll wait. You know, they're living things. Like
Yeah, they'll stay dormant for some people too.
yeah,
For a long time. Yeah. My probably, yeah, most definitely my favorite video game character comes from this game. Albert is, I love Albert so very much.
we've talked about this. Like I can't pick a favorite character. I really do like them all. If I had to pick one, it'd be Rose, just because her story is so fucking tragic.
Oh yeah, that'll break your heart, man.
Yeah, like if you ever just like sit back and think about what she must have went through for all that time, you think about like the emotional toll that probably took initially, and then how she became how she is now. Like that woman's been through some shit.
Yeah, and she just had to sit with it.
Yeah,
That
alone
sucks.
for a very long period of time. It's. I think my issue with people who review the game is that they're obviously playing it once to get a review, to bitch about it, to talk its praises, if they have anything nice to say about it. But that's it. And I'll be honest, man, like, I didn't learn all this stuff my first playthrough. My first playthrough, I was just raptured by the story, and I was like, I need to get to the end.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I realized, like, my first annual playthrough, basically, where I was just like, I really like that game. I'm going to play it again. And I noticed something different. And I was like, oh, I didn't notice that the first time. I'm like, oh, I didn't notice it the first time. And, like, each playthrough, I typically use a different party composition. Contrary to popular belief, every single character is viable. You just need to use them correctly.
You have to know what you're going for. Like, really. I usually default back, but I do try to run different builds. But I got characters I like. I like their. I don't ever use Shayna because I don't like not being able to use additions. That's my favorite part of the game. So
yeah, I mean, that's understandable. That is very understandable. I think she's the best character. Not Shauna specifically, but like just her position in the party, I would say. She's very, very good.
She's not a bad character. I like what she offers magically, but again,
magically, she takes the most effort to level up to be strong, but once you do, oh my god, she's the best character in the game. She's so strong, it's ridiculous.
She smacks.
Yeah, dude. Like there are some bosses in the game you can one shot with her if you build her correctly. Again, you build her correctly.
Yeah, no.
People have talked about it where they're like, you know, I went through the effort to get her her dragoon stuff as high as it could be, and like you can only use it once. What's the point? I'm like, no, if you combine your items correctly, she has fucking 350 MP. You can use it like 3 or 4 times a battle. It's really good.
Smack. Oh, that was easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty much me with Albert, dude. Like
He's super strong. He's one of those instances for me where I don't like using he's like Hashel, where I don't like using his Dragoon Spirit very much. Because like physically in their additions, they're so fucking strong. And Dragoon wise, like it doesn't match up to what you're doing physically.
I crush him with magic with him. Yeah. I use Gaspless and Rose Storm.
Rose Storm's super solid. That's what I was gonna say is like Albert provides a lot of defensive buffs, which is really good, and that's a position in the party. Like you can time that out correctly and be like, yeah, I need to withstand for a few turns. Like I'll use this ability and have everyone else do their thing. Hashel, on the other hand, like he doesn't have much use because his magic stat's really low. So I didn't use his Dragoon much at all, but his physical stuff, oh my god.
And his additions are fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's so much fun. Like his timing is so knacky to me. Like it's so weird, but I like it.
Statistically, he's basically a faster Albert, really, because their attack stat is the same, but Hashel is faster. So.
Oh really?
Yeah. Statistically speaking, like he's just a faster Albert, and much harder additions. But
yeah, he's fun to play.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've used every character in different ways, and like I've done a lot of. I'm actually struggling. Like I'm thinking about playing it again, you know, annually, and I was like, man, what team do I do this time?
You should. So I was reading on Game FAQs years and years and years ago, like middle school, and they said that there is it's unofficial, but there's an unofficial hard mode for that game.
Really? Okay. All right. I'm interested.
If you want to play the unofficial hard mode, you keep every character's starting equipment the same.
I'm not gonna do that. I'm already out.
Yeah, that's the unofficial hard mode. Is you keep everybody with their default equipment. which I'll never fucking do because I'm not a sadist, but
that's just making it harder for no reason.
Or a masochist, that would be.
I was hoping you're gonna say like, oh yeah, like this character or this party composition is actually really hard. So.
Oh no, it's purely just don't upgrade their stuff.
Yeah, I think the hardest time I've ever had was using Kongo and Rose.
Yeah,
that's the hardest time I've ever had because it takes a while for Kongo to be like his maximum tankiness and like get that build going, and then Rose like unfortunately tapers off really hard after you get her until the end of the game. Then she's really good again.
Yeah, she's also squishy as hell.
Yeah, she's so squishy.
Yeah, this sucks. She's such a cool. They're all so cool.
Yeah, they're all great characters, and I mean, it's just the thing is like you can latch on the characters and be like, I like these two. Mm-hmm. I'm going to use these two, and that's viable. You can do it. It's fine. Like,
yep,
they're really kind of unofficial. Like I said, there isn't really an official, or like you said, there isn't really like an official like this is the best team no matter what.
No,
just do what you like, man. That's all 100%. It is. Like,
yeah, I have a good time. My general party composition is Rose, Albert, Dart. Like, I like that combo. Or I'll switch out Rose for Kongo because I like him a lot too.
Ooh, man, that's probably hard too. Honestly, that's two pretty slow characters.
They don't hit often, but I do single targeting. Like I eliminate threats one at a time.
Yeah,
and that really helps.
You use Dart as support to.
Somewhat. I use him for. Usually, I'll open up with Dart and Dragoon Spirit, and I'll hit. What's it? Goddamn, Final Burst. I usually open with Final Burst and kind of see what that's doing, like damage wise, and then single target left, single target right, single target center. It's effective. I don't take a lot of damage. Also guard a lot.
That makes sense.
Yeah, this is the way I play, man. Yeah,
I mean, we could talk about Legendary Dragoon forever. The thing is, like, it is that good. If you're one of those people that haven't played it and you're like, it's overhyped, like, it's the hype. It is the hype.
Trust me, yeah. Or your money back.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you are a person who enjoys RPGs, but you've never played it. I genuinely think this will change how you look at RPGs because this one honestly set a standard for me. Like, yep. I'd say the three most influential RPGs in my life were Legend of Dragoon, the Breath of Fire series, and Lunar. Those set a serious tone for how I like feel about RPGs because all three of them were really, really good in very different ways. And I try not to compare things to the past, but we've talked about this a lot. Games are not as good as they used to be, and 100%. There's a reason why you go back sometimes. But that's another topic, and I want to end this on a happy note. So
yeah, 100%. Yeah. I can't praise that game enough. Legitimately, like it's my favorite for a reason. And yeah, I totally think you should play it.
Yeah, I mean, any of these games I think we've talked about obviously comes with a seal of approval.
Yeah, you have a good time.
Yeah,
100%.
And the thing is, like, each one kind of offers a different experience. And so I think anything that we talked about tonight, like, if whatever your niche is, there's something here for you.
100%. Yeah, like, I'm not gonna say that you're probably not gonna love Star Fox like I do, but I bet you'd enjoy it. Yeah, you'd have a good time.
Yeah.
Do you have any closing statements?
No, I think that's it. I just want to say, again, thank you for everyone being supportive. Share this around. That's the big thing. If you know someone who might like it or might not like it, but you think they should hear it,
yeah, okay.
Go ahead and send it around. Our episodes kind of waver. These are more positive ones, but a lot of what we target is like the hard hitting, like news media stuff. Like this game's fucking up. These corporations are fucking up. Here's why these games suck these days. Like we talk a lot about that stuff. So if you're a long time listener, thank you, and if you're new, share it around. Yeah. Tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your brother, tell your sister, tell everybody. Traction is important. Let's do that. Yeah, I don't have any closing notes. All right, well, I guess that's it. We'll be back next time. Not going to be more of this. Going to get back to the usual stuff, so unfortunately, but we'll see. Anyway. You've had your dopamine. It's time to take your medicine. Well, that's it for me. Cool sign-off phrase. Yeah, cool sign-off phrase.